Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with comparisons. Oh, God, this is what music collecting and listening and classical stuff is all about, isn't it? The differences between performances, some of them equally marvelous, some of them dreadful, but the point is to listen and hear the differences. And it's astonishing what comes out when you make these comparisons. It really is. And I propose to begin with a discussion of Mozart's Masonic funeral music, conducted by two contemporary echt Mozartians, Bruno Walter and Otto Klemperer. But before we get to that, we need to do a little bit of housekeeping. How am I going to do this? Because these are major label productions that you cannot get permission to use on YouTube, even though the performances are out there somewhere on YouTube, actually. I don't know how they do that, but they're there, sometimes in multiple versions. The bottom line is that I don't have that issue at ClassicsToday.com. Fortunately. And so I can put the video there and post the musical examples there, and subscribers to ClassicsToday.com can just go there and listen. And that's what I'm going to do, just as we did the Conductor's 10 Best series and all that. So this is going to be a whole series of comparisons, which hopefully will go on forever, where we'll be able to look at what makes individual artists individual. What do they do that's kind of special? And the Mozart Masonic funeral music is the perfect place to begin. First of all, because we have two iconic conductors who are, to the manner born in terms of Mozart conducting. Second of all, because their interpretations are wildly different. It's amazing. And third, because the Mozart Masonic funeral music is an amazing masterpiece that a lot of people don't know very well. It's only, well, depending on who does it, 5 minutes and 23 seconds to 7 minutes and 47 seconds long. And here's where the fun starts. Mozart wrote it for an actual Masonic funeral rite for the death of a couple of his Masonic brethren. And it's an astonishing piece of music. It really is. It's a funeral march, sort of, kind of. And aside from being very, very brief, it is one of the most dark and tragic sounding things that Mozart ever wrote. And the scoring is amazing. It's scored for a couple of oboes, a clarinet, 3 basset horns. Basset horns are lower clarinets. They're sort of like alto clarinets, not quite bass clarinets. They didn't have them in those days. But they're low and reedy sounding and marvelously dark, and then a couple horns and strings. That's basically all it is. Now, if you listening to this thing, the differences between Walter and Klemperer are astonishing. First of all, as you know, Otto Klemperer has the reputation for being slow, big and slow and heavy and granitic. Well, Walter is 2 minutes slower. And when the work is only 5 minutes long, being 2 minutes slower is a big deal. It's a very, very big difference. That's number one. Number two, Klemperer was known for having a woodwind-weighted sonority, which he does. Walter's is a string-weighted sonority. And then there's the whole question of dynamics. Klemperer's dynamics are more violent and exaggerated. I wouldn't call them exaggerated, but they're just, his dynamic contrasts are bigger. Walter maintains the overall funereal aspect, and his dynamic contrasts are a little bit gentler. But when you take that with the slower tempo, the cumulative effect is entirely different. Entirely different. Now, Bruno Walter has a reputation for being kind of a gentle, nice guy, a pleasant, friendly, sweet person who wasn't much given to extremes of emotion and whatnot. But his performance of this, which he made in 1961, this is a stereo version. There are two. There's an earlier one from 1954. But this one from 1961 with the Columbia Symphony in stereo, it was just before he passed away. I mean, there's something about this version that really speaks of last things. Klemperer is more rugged. Klemperer, for all of his reputation for being slow, was not slow in slow music. He was actually rather quick in slow music and very unsentimental. He was just straight ahead, direct, sort of contained in that sense. So which one of them is more potent? I can't decide. I don't think either of them are. I think they're very different. They're so different in sonority that this wall of woodwind sound that Klemperer conjures up with the strings in front of it, whereas Walter, on the other hand, is just this incredibly mournful, sad, trudging, funereal. I mean, it's funeral music, but wow, what a difference these two guys achieve. It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And so the musical excerpts that I've chosen are at classicstoday.com with the heading of the review. And this video is there too, by the way. You can just go watch it over there, or you can just go listen to the excerpts if you're a classicstoday.com insider. Otherwise, you can find these performances on YouTube and compare them yourself if you're interested, or if you already own them and they're in your collection, and that'll be true of a lot of you. Just compare them. Seriously, this is one of those things where you may not take the time to do it. You might enjoy, each version. You might listen to it. You might have owned it for decades. But to actually place them in direct comparison with each other, and that's one of the advantages to doing this at Classics Today, because the examples are right on top of each other, and you'll have one in mind when you listen to the other. And it makes an absolutely extraordinary impression. I guarantee it. It's really, really fascinating to hear how this tiny work, short work, with two conductors coming from the same tradition, the same background, the same part of Germany, can arrive at such completely different conceptions. Equally valid, equally powerful, I think. I really believe that. I don't choose one over the other. I love them both. But boy, are they moving and powerful and gripping and extraordinary. So give it a shot, and I really look forward to doing this series with you all. And if you haven't subscribed to classicstoday.com, consider it. It's not a big deal. It's not a lot of money. And I think we're going to have a really, really good time doing some tremendous new insider content. I really do, as we go forward. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.